Record 13, Side 1, Lesson number 13, the 13th lesson, Practical section. We shall begin our lesson with an ordinary personal letter written by Peter to his friend Tom. Note the address and where it is written. In the top right-hand corner of your paper. The house number is written before the street name, and sometimes a comma is placed after the number. Write the town in the second line and your country, England, France, Italy, etc., in the next line if your letter is going abroad. Otherwise, you will write the date on the third line. Peter writes, "Dear Tom." Notice that there is a comma after Tom, but he begins with a capital letter. Remember this. 24 Oxford Road, Nowhere, the 8th of February, 1962. Dear Tom, thank you very much for your cheerful letter. I am quite well now, and though I have missed 2 or 3 weeks of lessons at school, I shall try very hard to make up for lost time. You are very clever, and I am sure you would not find it at all difficult. But I am not particularly fond of study, so you can imagine how boring school sometimes is for me. I have read a number of books in the last 3 weeks while I was in bed. The good ones are probably too difficult for you yet, but there are many good English books written in simple language, especially for foreign students today. There are also some of the better-known classics among them. You should try reading one. Your bookseller will know what you want and be able to advise you. Begin with the first or second grade books, however. You will read the more advanced ones later. It is very tempting to read the book only in order to understand what happens. But you must not forget that you will find at least one new construction on every page. Try to learn these and apply them. If you take care to do this now, you will soon find that your vocabulary has multiplied, and therefore your command of English will be greater. That is why I tell you to begin with the simpler books now and gradually increase the difficulty as you learn. What are you doing now? In your last letter, you said that you were going to the mountains for a few days skiing. Did you enjoy the change? Skiing here is not very common, though there are a few places in the Scottish Highlands where winter sports can be practiced. Our mountains are not very high compared to the Alps, and so people who have the time and can afford the trip go to Switzerland or Italy for a winter holiday at this time of the year. I hope I, too, shall be able to visit these places sometime, for they must be very beautiful. I have been to London and some places on the south coast of England, but I have not yet been across the Channel. Whenever you visit a new town or village, please send me a postcard, and I shall do the same for you. In this way, we shall both be able to have a clearer idea of each other's country. I shall be writing again with more news in the near future, and hope you will find time to write a few lines telling me what you have been doing and about your plans for the spring and summer. Looking forward to hearing from you, I send my best wishes to you and your family. Yours affectionately, Peter.
Side 2, Grammatical section. The perfect tenses, first part. The perfect tenses in the active voice, the subject of the sentence does the action of the verb, are all formed with the auxiliary verb to have and the past participle of the principal verb. Here are a few examples. I have studied. The children had played in the garden before the party. We shall have done a lot of work before this evening. John had read the book before. The auxiliary verb to have is used to form the perfect tenses of all verbs in the active voice in English, without exception. He has gone to the cinema, but his sister has come home. They had been reading in the garden for an hour when we arrived. Note that in the interrogative forms, only the first auxiliary is placed before the subject. Compare, we shall have studied. Shall we have studied? Shall we not have studied? Shan't we have studied? In the negative forms, the not is placed after the first auxiliary, as in the following examples. They will not have arrived at 6 o'clock. The Smiths have not visited us. for a long time. I have not read about that unfortunate affair, but I have heard something about it. Present perfect. This tense is formed by the present tense of to have, followed by the past participle of the principal verb. I have worked. You have studied. He has listened. She has watched. It has played. We have preferred. You have written. They have traveled. Here, as with the auxiliary to have, we use contracted forms in conversation. I've worked, etc. The present perfect tense is used for a completed action, or an action considered up to now. It is a mixture of past and present. The action is past or completed, but there is always a definite connection with the present. 1. It is used when no time is given for the past action. They have been for a walk. I have been to London. Have you seen John since Saturday? 2. When a period of time is given, and this is not completely past. We have been to the cinema 3 times this month. William and his father have worked all day in the garden. Haven't you smoked any cigarettes today? 3. When an action has been recently completed, we use the present perfect with just. We have just finished our homework. Have you just had supper? Haven't John and Julia just returned from a skiing holiday? Notice the difference between these 2 sentences. They have studied for this exam. They studied their lesson yesterday. In the first sentence, we mean that they are now ready for the exam. In the second, we specify the definite time in the past when the action of the verb was carried out. When past time is definitely stated or understood, that is, not specified, but both the speaker and the listener know when the past action took place, then the past definite tense must be used in English, even when we have the present perfect in other languages. He went to the football match after lunch. We know that lunch is past because, for example, it is now 4 o'clock. They played in the garden all morning. It is now afternoon or evening. The postman rang the doorbell because he had a parcel to deliver. We know when the postman came, and the action is again past. Have you studied your lesson yet? Up to this moment. Did John and Mary do their homework before you came in? Actions are all completed in the past. The boys saw a nest in the tree and climbed up to it. There were 3 small eggs in the nest. The speaker is relating a past event.